Hello and welcome, Exiles. Today I want to give you a video on the character I've been playing the past few days, which is a Spectral Shield Throw Trickster. This is my take on playing some Spectral Shield Throw. Wanted to try it out with the new buffs to it. Obviously, we're not going the most meta route with it, considering we're going with a Trickster, and as far as I can tell, there's not anyone else doing that. So I think we're special. Maybe we're not. But we're playing with Crown of the Eyes to allow us to scale our damage with spell damage on the tree, which allows us to have a tree that ends up looking a lot like an ED Contagion Trickster, where you end up traveling all the way over to these block nodes. I wanted to go for something tanky, so I went for Cap Spell and Attack Block via Glancing Blows, which is really easy to craft. Recover 5% energy shield on block, so you can end up being quite tanky just because of that. Then stacking a lot of ES via a Cerberus Limb, which gives us some spell damage, which is nice for the scaling, as well as giving us a whole lot of ES based on our big shields we're going to craft for Spectral Shield Throw. This was my approach. Obviously, you could get more damage out of going for some Gain Fizz as extra weapons with other stats on it, but I wanted to go for a nice little tanky build, and that's the approach I ended up taking. We also went for a shadowstitch here. This is basically me just figuring out, hey, I have a +4 for projectile gems. Well, this is actually a +3 because I didn't use in power, but I have a +3 for projectile gems. I'm going to go build a projectile skill build with it. So I ended up doing Spectral Shield Throw. Ultimately, Spectral Shield Throw, it does benefit from the 3 levels, getting a little bit better scaling, but I don't think it's anything groundbreaking. Like, it doesn't... It's not like spells where the +3 levels would give you over, like, 40% more damage. It's like, I think 15-20% more damage or something like that. Still sizable, but not anything crazy. Maybe eventually we'll do a projectile spell with it, something properly to take advantage of the corruption. But that's just what we were building around. And Shadowstitch I love for Trickster because it gives you a ton of energy shield, given you get the evasion and energy shield scaling from Trickster, and then you also get % energy shield per corrupted item. We still have 1, 2, 3 items we haven't corrupted, so we're still missing out on like 24% energy shield just from Shadowstitch. That is something, if I was actually min-maxing, that's what I'd go for. But I don't really want to put more budget in this character because I've played it so far and I'm like, oh, it's not seemed like the end-all be-all, so I don't want to continue investing in it. It seems good, but not really good enough for me to want to min-max it. Other things we did is we went for a shield cluster with prodigious defense, martial prowess, and advanced guard. These are mostly just some nice quality of life things like ignore movement speed, a little bit of attack speed, and a little bit of extra block to help cap us out. I think ultimately if I tried to do this again with a lot of the things I've noticed, I'm really short on attack speed. I think that's the biggest fallback for my DPS is I didn't spec enough attack speed on the build. The things where I was planning to get attack speed were like an onslaught ring, but that's expensive. Getting things like Tailwind, but that's expensive. Stuff like that I was planning on doing, I didn't do, and because of that, the way I currently have it built, there's a huge lack of attack speed. I think that's our biggest downfall right now, because our only attack speed is from like here, and then here, and yeah, you can see what I'm saying. Oh, martial prowess. It actually, the point is, we have a huge amount of scaling we could probably still add into the build if we started to force in attack speed places, but I am too lazy to want to go back and switch all those things. Just know that's a mistake we made while making the build, is we're severely lacking attack speed. We have a decent amount of other stats like % damage scaling. We got a lot on Oxium from power charges. We got a lot of % damage from the spell damage scaling around the tree. We got stuff like that going for us, but we didn't do great on on attack speed. We have crit multi a decent amount just because we have Seething Fury, crit multi from Throat Seeker, crit multi from Anointing Gladiatorial Combat, stuff like that is what we were going for. So that's the generic tree. That's kind of the plan for the build I went for. For our passive tree, I just forgot to mention, for our Ascendancy, we went for Harness the Void. The plan being we could get some double, triple dipping on this if we convert Fizz to Fizz to Lightning, then Lightning to Cold. If we do that, we can get some good value out of Harness the Void. We also went for Swift Killer for Power and Frenzy charges. That could get some extra benefit out of Oxium, as well as the nodes that are really good for ES stacking on a Trickster. For Harness the Void stacking, what we did is we did Fizz to Lightning Anomalous, gives you 60% conversion, and then we got another 25% from our gloves, and another 10% from a Diversion Trinity. All this equates to 95% conversion, 85% of it's lightning. Then we convert half of the lightning to cold, and the gain non-chaos is extra chaos. I believe double and triple dips, basically. First, you have your 100% base fizz, and you would get the non-chaos as chaos from that. Then you have the converted cold, convert to lightning, and then you get the non-chaos as chaos from that. And then the lightning that gets converted to cold, you also get to dip in it again. I think is how non-chaos damage to extra chaos currently works, unless they nerfed that interaction or made it so it doesn't double triple dip. But that was the thought behind that, and we're doing Trinity because we have half damage. Our half main damage is lightning, and our other half main damage is cold, so Trinity procs pretty well there. And yeah, that's the current setup, and we have Fork for clear, and then we swap that out for vicious projectiles. I'd like to eventually, you know, if I was min-maxing this build, go for a Spectral Shield Throw enchant on the helmet, and then I think we could afford to drop Fork and go for something like a elemental damage with attacks or damage on full life. Those would both be better supports than the Vicious Proj. Vicious Proj attack speed just feels, it feels too slow, I would say. Let's go ahead and alch up this Drox I prepared, and I'll give you guys a showcase of what the character looks in Awakener 9. Just make sure it doesn't have Reflect, no Reflect. Less recovery is not great, but it's fine. Monster damage is not great, but honestly, this build's pretty tanky that it usually isn't much of an issue at all. I'll give you guys a showcase of what it looks like if we're on Awakener 9 real quick here. And that way you guys can decide for yourself if it's something you guys can decide for yourself if it's something you wanted to build, but I would not personally recommend it. This character, I'd say, besides the fact we have a +3 chest piece, was maybe about 15 to 20x range, all in, like, you know, you count all the alt quality gems we got, all the various gear pieces. Maybe you could thrift shop for cheaper. I'm just kind of guesstimating because I don't know 100% how much I spent on it, but I think it's around that range because that's about how much currency I had when I was putting this character together. Let's go ahead and run this thing. I'll just start putting a bunch of just try to make it real juicy. Get a bunch of log stuff books. One of the nice things about this is it doesn't really matter what mods we have for the most part. I mean, block's annoying, but like immune to chaos damage, or immune to lightning, or immune to cold, or immune to fire, or immune to fizz. We deal damage of literally every type. So there's something that'll get through. Now, earlier I did a logbook where I juiced the things up with ward, and immune lightning, and immune cold, and immune fire. And the rare at the very end I couldn't end up killing. He was too juiced, and we didn't deal damage enough fast enough. So we still can brick like a logbook if you do like an 83 logbook and you grab almost every immune to X damage type. That's still something you can brick, but for the most part it's pretty solid at being resistant against the mods that are on logbooks or on Expedition and whatnot. So, things to think about, things to consider. I think for our boss fight here, we want to actually get, I always forget to put down a Hydrosphere at the correct location. Hopefully I'm not lagging here. But, one thing I always forget to do is, if I'm going to the boss fight for the swap, I mean, eventually we wouldn't have to do this swap if we got the, what's it called? I think I keep forgetting about. Oh shoot, I wasted all my diamond flasks. What am I spacing on? I always forget to do... Man, this is gonna drive me crazy. I was going somewhere with that, I promise. I don't know where I was going with it, but it's too late to go back now. Drox is easy for this character. We can basically face tank everything he does. Veritani is easy for this character. Face tank everything he does. Al's been easiest of them all. Face tank everything he does. We're CI. And then Baron, you have to dodge the shotgun projectile. If he hits you with that twice in a row, he can kill you with that. But most things on this Cirrus, pretty easy. I didn't end up doing Elder, but I'm assuming it'd be easy because Shield Throw bounces between Elder and Shaper and stuff, and that makes it nicer. Shaper would be a cakewalk. Most of the invitations are okay, except for the Hidden. I did one earlier today, and I was screwing around purposely seeing if I could tank the Toll Barrage, and I couldn't, so I died in it. But because I did that, I wasted a bunch of time, and then all of the Hidden, the Breach Lord spawned in, and I don't know if you've ever done a Breach Lord invitation, but point is, if you don't instantly DPS and kill one of the Breach Lords early, and you have all 4 of them out, it's very hard to overcome that, especially since apparently the spikes that Umatul summons screws up my ability to target enemies with shield throw, and that's a factor which feels really bad because you try to throw the shields at the breach lords, and the spike things just intercept it. So I ended up bricking that invitation. So besides that one, I think the limitations are the breach lord. I think this probably could do fear just because I could run around and keep DPSing them down eventually. It'd be a little bit awkward, but it's still a fairly tanky build, has a decent amount of survivability. I think it'd be doable, but it'd be a slower fight. And I believe Maven would be doable as well, just because we can take most things. That being said, Maven's Arena bricks if you don't place the degen ground, so you'd have to play it well to do Maven, I would say. But yeah, that's this character. Not going to end up doing a full guide on it because, again, I haven't felt like it was strong enough for the budget. Maybe I'm just being too picky, or I've been too picky for a lot of my builds, but I don't want to invest the kind of budget I think I would have to get it to a point where this starts to feel really good. Again, I think we're missing a lot of attack speed. I think that's the big weakness of our build, is I really forgot to grab a lot of attack speed with the way I've spec'd out this tree. Maybe I could change up the tree a little bit, get an onslaught ring, get tailwind boots, get the elevated onslaught attack mod, like stuff like that. We can start getting more attack speed. Maybe those are end up being enough massive damage boosts that it really makes a big difference. But I don't know. This was my take on Spectral Shield Throw. Hope you guys found it interesting. Maybe it could give you guys, I don't know, some sort of insight on another perspective on how to build it if you wanted to go for an extra tanky version. But then again, the bleed version is pretty tanky already. I mean, SST Raiders got the DPS, SST Glad Bleed's got the tankiness. You kind of, there's different varieties, there's different ways to do it. There are multiple ways you can make it work. Ultimately though, I don't know, I'm maybe a little bit disappointed with my version of it. Maybe I should have just kept investing into it. Maybe it could, oh, I just realized this. One thing I should point out, another fun thing I thought was an interesting way to deal with ailments, not necessarily the best ailment immunity, but it's fairly good, is going for reduced elemental ailment duration implicit synthesized boots, plus a militant faith in an area where you're grabbing a lot of nodes anyways. We ended up getting about 40% element reduced duration here, 50% from our boots, which takes us to 90. And then technically, if we did harvest to get the extra implicit with a 10% reduced duration, you can get effectively immune to things like freeze and shock and ignite. It will fall off in ignite. Ignite the nodes that make the enemies have 100% increased ignite duration. It wouldn't work against that, but I think the other things it would be fine. And it's felt good the entire time I've played it, just with 90% duration. So. Sorry, I thought I should point that out, that's one way I found to solve elemental immunities on passive trees or on ascendancies that don't get it. But these boots aren't super common. That's just an option that you have, I guess. Anyways, that's the character. Hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you, as always, for spending the time here, and I will see you guys later. Peace out, guys.